Of the Brick Wall with Val and company. Uh, we have one of the Avid Five members, of course, and I think you all know him. Hopefully by now you've been watching on Fridays. We have Bjorn slash Horn. Uh, Here's some claps for that. The claps. Recently, his character died. We'll be talking about that and some more stuff in this episode here. But I did want to Am I like? Oh yeah. Anyway, but so the first thing I wanted to say, I wanted people to get to know a little bit more about you as a whole, because people know a lot about me now because I've been doing this for a little bit, but more about you and your character and stuff as well. But I asked you like the first question is what got you interested in D&D, and all that stuff, because I think it's different for everybody.
It's honestly kind of a long story. I got interested in D&D when I was 9, 10, 11 years old, just from reading like sci-fi and fantasy books. Was honestly just in a random like used bookshop and found, I want to say it was Tomb of Annihilation from AD&D, like just a random module book, like for $3 in the bin. I mean, I'm talking back before internet days. Like that's how old I am to throw that out there. And I just read through it and just got really intrigued with the concept of as I was reading it as a 10, 11, 12-year-old was looking at it like, there's not a character in this. Like, how do you, this isn't a story. I don't know what this is. And started kind of researching it and then found D&D that way. But I lived in a small town, so I didn't have anybody to play with. So it just was a love of books, a love of fantasy, a love of sci-fi. And then I hate to say it, but about 7 years ago, the rise of YouTube got me back into D&D, and this from the standpoint of hearing the content. I mean, it was groups like the Expendables, and as much as I hate to say, like Critical Role, recently, like the Dungeon Run and Dungeon Dudes, and a whole bunch of these guys on YouTube that were doing Dungeons and Dragons content, and it pulled me right back into the days of my youth, you know.
And I think that's cool. I think kind of share a similar entry into the point where I started playing it with games, and then I didn't have anybody to play with for a while, years actually, really, and then I really got into it like the previous gen, because when I kind of got into it, fourth edition was like kind of like the new thing, and then no one was playing that, so it was like, all right, 20.5 or bust. So I did that. It was always loved the stories of D&D. That's one of the strongest suits in the modules. So especially the more complex ones, like the go to show, like it was always this like hero's journey, or like trying to stop ne'er do wells and stuff. So I thought it was really cool, and people working together from different backgrounds to solve a really complex and difficult issue. I thought that was really cool.
Well, the funny thing about it, what I connect it to, and Stephen King has this big long series of books, the Gunslinger series with Roland de Guillielid. I started reading that at 12 years or 10 years old with the original book, the first book, The Gunslinger, and I kind of connected that to D&D because it's kind of the same concept. It's one guy from this time frame pulls all these people to help him, 2 or 3 people to help him from multiple different time frames, and it all just fit together, and they're marching towards this tower, right? And all the stories that happen with it. And I that's how I truly connected it to then playing D&D and creating a character and going after a goal, whatever that goal is.
And I want to say too, speaking of Stephen King, I started reading his Dark Tower series, and I just couldn't finish it, man. Like, Stephen King has such a good feel for like settings. He makes you really feel the place is real. But I feel like after like 95, 97, he ran out of ideas. I think he's ran out of ideas. It was like evil lamp, and all of his stories take place in Maine, or like a location of Maine somewhere. It's like, oh, this is like Texas, but it feels like Maine, dude. Yeah. It feels like Maine, dude. But That's cool. I really love that. I'm still a fan of Stephen King, guys. Don't like that. I just his latter books post like 95, 96. He definitely was running out of some ideas at that point. I don't care nobody says. But real dude.
For real,
But
yeah, I can't disagree with you. There's been some good ones in there, but yeah, that
yeah,
it's seems to be there's some recycling of ideas.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
But after
Yeah,
when you've been writing books since the middle of the 80s, I mean,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
kind of like TV right now. You look at TV and
Mm,
everything is a remake, everything is an offshoot of something else. Like nobody's coming up with
yes.
original ideas anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say any other show that might be coming out recently, Lord of the Rings, but and it's some shows that seem very similar to Game of Thrones that are coming out very soon. But that's irrelevant here. I will say the next topic I have for you, my friend, is I think said, what is your favorite thing about playing or just being a part of tabletops or D&D? Because I think that's really interesting. Everybody has a different thing.
It's the camaraderie. I mean, I grew up, like I said, I was into sci-fi and fantasy, but then I got really heavy into sports. I mean, I'm a college
Mm-hmm,
football player, played three
mm-hmm.
sports through high school. Like I coach,
Wow.
even now I coach three sports. So just that camaraderie that you can have with a
Right.
group of people, especially in a situation like playing online. I mean, for me, I've only ever played online. To
Mm-hmm.
be able to have such an eclectic group of people, a wide ranging group
Right.
of people from multiple different states, multiple different areas. I mean, we have people from, if you look at our group on Event 5, we got, I think, somebody from,
Canada.
Canada, somebody from Texas, somebody from,
Yeah.
like, we're spread all
Arizona.
over the place. So to have
Correct.
that difference of opinion because of spacing, right, is
Right.
me is cool because you're not just looking at a small group of people that have roughly the
Hmm.
same mental process on things. So
Correct. And it's interesting you say that because I think that's one of the things that D&D was kind of about originally anyway, was like these different people, different backgrounds. And it's like, okay, you're a dwarf, I'm an elf, like we should have differing opinions about a lot of different things. But I think that's one of the things that kind of I think one of the missing keys for me in a lot of tables is I think the freedom to kind of disagree or have differing opinions without killing each other. Um,
do 100%. I feel like,
yeah,
and I will admit, I've taken in a lot of like RPG horror stories
yeah. Oh yeah,
content,
God,
right?
yeah,
I feel that
yeah.
there is a lot of players and ultimately a lot of DMs that they don't want
Mm,
inter-party conflict. It's like, here's your
right.
goal, go accomplish your goal, and that's all you're going to do. And I think having some of that inter-party conflict, and I mean, you can already see it in some of our episodes on with
Right.
Advent
Yeah.
5. Like there's
Yeah.
some differencing of opinions and some back and forth and some, you don't want to say
Yeah.
arguing because we all still have the same goal, but how do you accomplish that goal?
Hmm.
Having some of those differencing of opinions really makes that story come alive and feel real.
Yes, and I think that's one of the biggest things. I think DMs are sometimes, especially with like people that haven't played together in a while. I will say to defendants, but if you have a bunch of new people, and they're arguing, most times they're not gonna be able to get together. But I feel as if it's like tiers or levels to D&D, but anything else in like sports is levels to it: D1, D2, D3,
Yep.
professional. It's levels to D&D too. Like I think the base level is just you complete the task, get done, you get the championship, woohoo, you win, or like that. But it's like and it's another level where like, okay, like we're vastly different people, like trying to accomplish the same goal. How the fuck are we gonna do this and not kill each other?
Yep.
And then it's the other layer of, and this is one I've never seen actually pull this one off. In me personally, is people play traditionally evil races trying to do a very good task
Yep.
while also trying not to kill each other, while also trying to do this. It's
That
next to
one,
impossible.
that one, I mean, as bad as it sounds, you almost need to leave that type of a game, in my opinion,
Yeah.
to professional actors who
Yes.
can truly separate the character from
Mhm.
the character in the game from
Yes.
true real life, right?
Correct.
I mean, I think
Yeah.
anybody that plays this as a casual game or even does it, from a standpoint of streaming, there's too many people that take too many things personally in life, where even if it's a game, they pull it too much into their heart, And if you do that in character, then it's in character. But then you got to step
Right.
back after the fact and go, dude, I love you because that was amazing, right? Like,
Yes.
I don't take offense to what you said in game because that was in game. This is now out of game.
Yeah, and I think that goes to show like with the whole debriefing thing after the session. I think that's so huge,
Yep.
especially when you have a really complex party because it allows you to really because if you don't talk about the session after the session, sometimes people just kind of harbor those emotions and feelings like this motherfucker actually really hates me, or really dislikes me. When it's no, especially if people are newer players, it's like I'm playing an elf. Why did this dwarf a dick to me all the time, right?
Yes. Or you're
Like I don't
playing a
understand.
tiefling. Why is everybody a dick to me, right?
Right? It's like and it's like does the demon hate me? And then I think the fucking horror RPG that Reddit gives me like type 2 diabetes, bro. I swear, like it's literally just like you have 95% of that Reddit is people or antisocial people, like most people that play D&D, complaining about antisocial or communication issues they're having in a game that is highly social and requires good communication.
Yep.
90% of the stuff can be solved with just talking to this person. It's like, well, the DM punching me off a building. Like it happened a couple of weeks ago. Like, should I be like, should I care? And you have all these white knights. Oh, he did that to you? Oh my god, I'm gonna save. Like I would never do that. Like, whatever,
Well,
dude.
that brings up the point though of
right.
I think that there's too many DMs that play the game too loose, right? Like
Correct.
They're not trying to kill their players. And I mean, if you go back to AD&D and even second edition, like how you might go, you'd be lucky to go 5 sessions with the same character because you were going in some place and the DM was trying to kill you. Now I'm not agreeing that every session the DM should try to kill you.
Yes, 100% yes.
But there needs to be that fear that fear that you could lose your character. So that way you're playing things on the level, right?
That's huge. And I don't want to kind of skip past that because I think that's one of the things that I think being like as a player, if you know you're not going to die or that consequences don't really happen seriously, you kind of almost go through things like as a video game, which is the one thing that DMs talk about, but they don't want to have players be held accountable for the thing that they do. I've seen Barbarian literally break a guard's nose on the first session. And he's like, well, we should talk about it.
No.
What?
Guards come out and get your butt kicked. Like,
get their butt kicked. Like, you don't have to kill him, but have him be in jail. I was like, okay, well, either you break him out and become thing, but you don't have to be like, well, the guards come and talk to him like, well, I didn't appreciate that, sir.
with the Karen Bob cuts and
yeah, dude, it's like it's one of those things where DMs and players have to be on board and understand that there are consequences. And that's huge because it makes the game more real. When you know that the DM isn't gonna fucking DX mocking to save your life, and you get put in a dangerous situation, you're like, okay, big brain moment. What the fuck can I do to get out of this moment? Because he's not gonna fucking pseudo save me from this. This is just gonna happen.
Well, and I'm not necessarily saying that there is times that within a story, maybe it does make sense that some DMPC or some comes in and does something to save you. Like, I was in a game and we had a situation where we got TPK'd. Now I think that there might have been a little bit of mistake on the DM's part on how he set up the encounter. I have no idea. I'm not.
Yes.
I don't know D&D that well. I've played for a while, but I don't necessarily know it that well. But you have an NPC that you met at some point. You've done something for. They're a high level wizard. You've already know they're a high level wizard. They know where you're going. You get jacked up immediately first round. All of a sudden he comes in. Well, story wise, that could make sense. Maybe he was following you to see what was going on, right?
Right.
But I also think that at that point you need to know as a player, as a DM player relationship, that DM needs to say, okay, look, you guys would have TPK'd. He came in to save you. I'm going to give you the choice. Roll up a new character or keep rolling with this character if it makes sense. At least that way there's still a consequence. There's still an effect. But it gives you the option to go, you know what? I really still want to explore this character. he'll still
Mhm.
run with it. Another character might go, you know what, at that point, he's going to look at this and go, yeah, I'm done. I ain't going to do this anymore. I'm going back home and I'm going to go work in dad's wood shop or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right. And I think that's one of those things where it's really tricky. It's no like black or white definition to this, right? I think that it is true, especially if you, because I've definitely even set up encounters where in sessions where the DMs are getting overwhelmed or the players are getting overwhelmed, but it was on purpose because the guy they saved was going to come with his friends to come save them.
Yeah.
Now, if I knew that was going to happen beforehand, that's not DX Machina. That's just me telling the story of the
Yep.
threat of these people is very dangerous. You're going to need allies to defeat these guys.
Yep.
That's different than we're alone in this icy tundra place. There's no one here that could possibly save us or know where we're at. And literally, God wills it, a fucking seraph comes down with a fucking Godhammer bandsword and starts smacking stuff around and saves us.
Yeah.
That's different.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all
So
based on the story, right? Like, I mean,
right.
D&D is everyone's heard this 100 times, but D&D
Yeah.
is cooperative storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it needs to be. It needs to be this story that
Mm-hmm.
you're putting together. And the DM always has the basis of the story in his head because he's the one truly telling the story. They're the ones that are putting together, taking all this time to put together the information, put together the world, add in these NPCs and add in all this content, whether it's political intrigue, whether it's combat, whether it's race, whatever it is. So it's their story, but
Mm-hmm.
it's still a cooperative storytelling game because you don't know where the PCs are going to go. You know, it's that whole, do you railroad them? Do you linearize the game for them? Or do you let them open world it? And I think there has to be a balance of that. There's times you have to kind of go, it's got to be a little bit linear. It's got to be a
Mm-hmm.
little bit railroaded, but it's a matter
Mm-hmm.
of not over railroading it. So that way it's just taking away
There's
the
no
agency and
choice.
taking away the thought of the PCs.
Right.
But then there's still that open world piece that if somebody says, hey, I want you to go get me this golden ring, fuck you, I'm going over here. Like,
Right. That's huge, man. And like to kind of talk about it too for Fridays, there's plenty of things like the golden egg goose thing. Y'all said, fuck that. We're not doing any of that. Now, I could have been like that. What was that one episode of XP level 3? He was like, hey, the golden goose, you guys go to take a piss, and it's like, hey, would you like to put this golden egg? You know, it's like that, where you
yep,
just have to keep, like, he just randomly appears and stuff. But I was like, no, they don't want to do that. That quest line is in that city. If they want to go back to do that, then they can go back there and they can do that. But if they're
right,
not interested in that at all, fuck it. It just doesn't, they don't do that, you know?
right.
But the illusion of choice, I think, is one of the biggest things that the DM, to any new DM, is giving players choices, especially like players should have, like, you know, it should be like, in my opinion, it should be like a path, then like a couple of forks, and then a path and a couple of forks.
Yeah,
That's how stories work. If you
yep,
just think that any kind of railroad at all is bad, then that's a misinterpretation or understanding of how D&D works. Um,
100%.
if players, you have to have some kind of path to tell a story. If not, you're never going to leave the tavern because
Right.
one dude is going to be like, "Well, I want to become a bartender." Okay, so now we just have this guy running bartender mini games for 30 sessions while everybody else is in fucking Uzbekistan freedom fighting. He's like, nah, I just want to be a bartender. I'm good. I'm just
Right.
serving up mixed drinks.
Then why did you become an adventurer? Like,
Yeah, it's like, but it's freedom of choice. So I can't be a bartender, and it's like, this is where, you know, you got to be careful with the whole like you can do anything.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah.
it's sort of it's well, and the other side of that too is you can create the illusion of open world as a DM,
Yes.
and again, I've never DM, so I'm coming at this from a player perspective,
Okay.
imagining what a DM could do. But you could have a storyline, right? And say tell players, hey, you can go to A city, B city, and C city, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can still have that content. Doesn't matter where they go. You're giving them the option to go where they want to go. You're just going to
Mm-hmm.
adjust the PC that gives, or the NPC that gives them that quest line. It doesn't
Correct.
matter which city you go to. You're going to get the same
It
quest. They'll
doesn't
never
matter.
know.
That is so huge, man, because I think sometimes as well, you know, the major quest, like I said, it doesn't matter. Like I think, but I think too, to be careful with that too as well too, is that every city should have distinct side quests or things going on, but the
Yeah.
main quest could happen any city they go to. So, take example, Desert City. Let's say the main goal is they're trying to stop one of these the associates of the tyrant that is a part of this city. That's part of a city that's doing stuff. Okay, so they have a choice between a desert city, a forest city, or a mining city, right? Okay, the desert city. The associate is like this Jim Desert Tyrant dude, whatever like that. So he's controlling all the oasis and something like that. People can get water. Okay, that's still leading up to the main story, but it's still that oasis water tyrant dude could not take place in a forest city that has access to water or the mining city that has access to water. Right. It's still going to the same place. It just looks different on the outside and it's slightly changed. So that's huge.
But then I guess on that same token, looking at it that way, what do you do if the PC, so you're talking about this tyrant dude, the PCs decide to go to the forest and you've set up this encounter. What do you do if all of a sudden they decide to go there and the encounter you've set up is way overpowered for the PCs? As a DM, what do you decide to do?
So this is the thing, right? So the biggest thing is that if they go to this forest city and the encounter that I had set up previously is too much for them, like in this before they fight them or in the middle of the fight? That's two different things.
I guess either one, because you don't know what's going to happen when they get there, right? If they get there, they see this thing and they don't realize that they need to run, so they get into the fight. Like, it could be they get there, they look at it, it's overpowered, they don't, right?
Yes.
Whether it's middle of the fight or before the fight, what do you do at that point if they're overpowered?
I got it. So this is the thing, right? So leading up to this point, is context clues is one of the biggest things. So let's say it's a green dragon, right? So they're going to this forest city. They've noticed that dead bodies of giant boars being eviscerated and covered in purple ooze. Let's say they fought a giant boar in the past. It almost kicked their ass. What the fuck could have just eaten half a boar and just left it there, right? Whoa. Okay. Next, they went to going to this forest village. They passed by a hamlet, decimated, done. The people there are covered, poisoned to death, emaciated, all this stuff. They're fucked. The city's fucked, pretty much. So 2 to 3 context clues getting to that point, and if they get to the point and this green dragon is dripping ooze and poison and is looking at them, or they know it's at that location, and if they keep going, it's like, okay, reiterate in subtle ways. Let's say they have a little NPC traveling with them. Have the NPC point out, hey, you guys are going to fight this dragon, but didn't it just destroy a town? I don't want to do this. This is really a bad idea. Everybody's like, I can do it. Then listen. Then you got to. This is important. Lay down the fucking hammer. Bam. Listen, because they're either not within reason, right? Okay, within reason. So this is the thing, right? If the green dragon comes in the middle of the night and swoops up and kills somebody, it is what it is. But you have to make sure though too that you're giving them like actual hints, right? Like you can't be like, well, if you would have seen the constellation on the 3rd of 16th, you would have noticed that it's gonna be actual hints. You know what I'm saying? If it's actual hints, the player should be able to look back and say, oh, we did pass a lot of shit. Like the players themselves should be like, oh, we fucked up because we weren't paying attention, and not have to tell them you fucked up because of this.
So you're going back to give them that cause and effect, right? Like you give them the clues. Yes. And if they decide to just keep moving, okay, well, there's your cause is this. Now the effect is here's your go fight the dragon, and then that
you want it to fight. You
that
want
first
it
attack.
To
if it TPKs you, there it is.
It is what it is, and then the other duality is if they if I made it kind of a little too strong as well for them, depending on the creature, if it's an intelligent creature, I would check some of his ideals and goals and morals. I'm like, okay, cool. If it's a dragon, Okay, there's different options. If I notice that the pieces are strong but not stronger than the dragon can say, I'm going to kill you. So either you can do what I want you to do, you complete one of my goals, which dragons do, and that's in canon, that's lore,
Yeah.
or two, or two, I potentially kill one of you guys. I'm bored and go off and eat you, and then just leave. And then just come
Yeah.
back because dragons have known to play with their food too. So okay,
Yeah.
I'll kill one of you guys and come back a little bit later. Oh, you guys are sleeping now? Wake up, come back. To the point where so that way it gives you the chance that if somebody does die, it happens. Death happens in D&D. I think people need to be aware of this,
Oh,
right?
100%. I mean, our game on Friday fully shows it, right?
100%.
Cause and effect, the choices you make should show that. And
Mhm.
I know you had said you wanted to talk about this. This might be a good, I don't know, you tell
Yeah,
me. You're
100%.
the
Yeah,
host here, dude.
please.
It's a good segue into it.
Yeah.
But the choice that Horn made in episode 6 was, hey, I'm gonna go walk past these things. As a player, I knew I was diseased. Was it probably a little meta? I mean, looking back, I think it was a little meta. There was some analysis paralysis going on in the group with, hey, let's burn them, let's do that. And I'm just like, I'm just gonna go walk out there. But to the same token, that was Horn's character. His whole thing was protecting people.
Right.
And so them all kind of sitting there in his head arguing about it, he went, well, let's just go see what happens. If nothing happens, then cool. And so he went. Now, I got to ask you on that side of it is as Horn, he got into that point of basically no return because he was just going to keep going.
Okay.
How did you decide at that point between letting it go and saying, nope, I'm gonna play this straight and have 5 undead ghoul flesh-eating monsters just attack him?
Well, for me, the biggest thing was the players had gotten hints as well of there were a bunch of dead body parts and corpse pieces around this area here, right? This is another hint. Sometimes you won't have 2 to 3 hints because obviously I didn't think that was going to be, like I said, it was going to be a group encounter, not a one-person encounter. So I'm like, okay, cool. There's a hint that this might happen or it may not happen, but it is a hint. So, okay, cool. You found body parts. Something is mangling these things up. What could it be? That's the first hint. The reason why is because, okay, cool. Horn made his decision to do that, and it would have been, I think, a mistake to have an encounter planned in this area here, or to nerf it or something like that. When that's what would have happened. I believe in telling the story as intended. Of course, if it was outrageous, like you fight an undead dragon or something like that, ridiculous, okay, that's stupid. But 5 ghouls pop up when the player's alone in this area here. That can happen, and that's just the reality of what the world is. It's a harsh and brutal place where things are trying to eke a way out what little life they can in this fucking desolate wasteland. You have to be prepared for that. If you do not act as a group or be aware, you're not going to survive. So I think that I use almost like a narrative device to show the players that, okay, cool, your tank died. He got bopped. If you guys aren't tankier than him. So if you don't start focusing together as a group, you're gonna get bopped too because none of you guys are as tanky as that guy. He was obscenely tanky. There's no way if you guys work independently that you can succeed at all. And I think it drove the home that narrative point because Aerith started working with Bjorn immediately. I think noticing that Boss too.
Well, no, he immediately started working with Boss on that door.
Yeah, 100% Boss. And then the next session, that was this Friday too, Aerith started trying to get to know Bjorn because she realized that I need allies. I can't do this alone.
Oh yeah, sorry, I was thinking that same episode where he died.
Oh yeah, no.
That's why I said sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. But it's sometimes it's, and this is why I give DMs a lot of credence and leeway when it comes to some of these horror stories because the margin of error is so small in these situations. It's so small. It's so easy to fuck this up that you're expecting people Like this dude works at McDonald's or something, dude. You expect this dude to have the narrative grasp to be able to finagle this really tight story, a really tight moment into a way that kind of pushes the story forward. Out of somebody that just picked up the book maybe a couple of months ago, like that's why I give DM so much credence to and players understand like if your character dies, it does suck. Most DMs are not trying to actively fucking kill you because we have more tools to kill you than anything else. If I wanted to just kill you, I would just kill you. I would just say, okay, as you're walking down the street, a fucking undead dragon comes and just fucking blows fire on you. Roll dex save, DC 19 for 36 D6, get fucked, kid. Roll them up new characters. That's not who most DMs are. There's some DMs I'm like that, yes, but that's not most DMs or a lot of DMs, or it's an insignificant amount. So I say that to say, it was a moment that pushed the story forward, and I think needed to happen to kind of add weight to the story. Because there are funny moments, like the Dancer Guild fucking storming in, challenging Kiala to a fucking dance-off. There are funny moments, and there has to be funny moments. It has to be a balance. There are moments, too, where the game is very serious, very dangerous, and things happen.
And I think that was really, to me, that was really the first real moment of, okay, we're in this. And honestly, I love that the way that it worked out. I mean, for me, being the character that died, I loved how that played out because it really showed, as stupid as it sounds for only being 6 episodes in and not having a lot of context for the character for all of the audience out there, that character was truly built as a character specifically to protect the people that he's with. I mean, his backstory was straight up, he did something stupid. He ran and hid from a Trollkin horde attack when he was guiding people through the forest, and quasi tried to save himself. Whether it worked or not was kind of up in the air, but he came back with this resolution of, I'm going to protect the people that I'm in charge of. I'm going to protect my friends. I'm going to protect my family. Protection was his overall goal. So for him to walk into that situation, have all these ghouls come after him and attack him, in all reality, in his head, he went, okay, I'm going to die. And I did my job, because now everybody behind me knows what's coming, and they can do what they need to do to handle it.
Right. And to address that point too, as well, any DMs or players watching, if I were to just DX Machina Horn to be alive, it would have been much, much, much worse for the story. I cannot address this enough. If you DX Machina's players consequences away, like, okay, they just run away from him, even though they're starving ghouls that would just eat the fuck out of a giant bear, then it almost makes it feel cheap. Like the world is really soft. Like it can't really harm you or affect you.
Yep.
And it ruins the immersion of the world because you know that the DM is going to save you, some way, somehow, some way, or just bullshit. That isn't to say that every D&D game, I think, every D&D table will offer something different. Some DMs don't kill players, some DMs do, whatever like that. I'm more if players' consequences lead up to death, or if the dice decide that your character is supposed to die, that is what it is. That doesn't mean that I don't push players in conflict situations to try to test and see how they operate and move in situations to create unique moments. But I do not pull punches once the situation is accounted for in 95% of the situations, unless that it is called for this thing to pull punches, where it's an emotional one, whereas you're fighting your brother or something like that, and he's much stronger than you, but he doesn't want to kill you because he's family, or a situation like that, or where your mother gets into a hag and her memories are coming back of her being a hag, and she's like, oh my shit, this is my daughter and my son, what the fuck am I doing? But I'm still an evil hag, what the fuck? So those moments where it makes sense, yes, but just randomly, no. You gotta, if you pull the gun out, you gotta shoot it. That's what anything else. If you pull it out, be prepared to use it. Don't have it beside your side if you're not afraid to use it, man. That's what anything. That's one of those things. If you bring it, use it. And I fully believe that. So I say the floor to you too. Kind of go back at this point as well. So, well, I'll get one for them, but I know that our audio guy or Assassination, he has some questions that he's posting to the side here that I should probably ask. So he's my guy.
Well,
So I'm gonna pick one of these.
I caught the first one for you. That's why I was asking about the overpowered. What do you do as a
Yeah, no,
DM with
no,
the overpowered encounter? So we covered that one, but the next one.
yeah, no. Well, that one I've seen that too, but I do want to say to kind of there's that point in the world. This is well, yeah, that yeah, but I mean the whole leveling kind of certain roles that has always been a thing in D&D. And people that kind of adjust uh those things dramatically, like up and down, I think that's kind of a disservice. So let's say you're on this volcanic island, right? Let's say the top of this mountain is where a red dragon live and its kobold horde. Now a adult red dragon is like a CR 18 creature, something like that. If the players decide to go to this ghost, and it's no like build up to this, let's like they just know that they go up there, they go through a high level fucking temple for the dragon to fight him, and you're giving them hints to where like, yo, um these kobolds are pretty powerful. These aren't no regular kobolds, man. These are like magically enhanced kobolds. I really don't think you guys can fight this. And the lore is showing this where, let's say a couple of high-level adventurers, you found their bodies that got ripped apart. Get all their shit stolen by these kobolds. And you're like, wait, isn't this Sir Landfree, the Great Knight that we seen in the tavern, and his brigade that were way stronger than us? Dude, he's fucking on a rock dead. Like his entrails ripped across the ground. Like, okay, if he died, hey, we're going this way, buddy. We're going back. No. It's like, but if the players want to continue forward, then like I said, you gotta bring out the hammer because play it's not like natural selection, to be honest. Like they would die. Those players would die. In the world, those characters would go off, and then they'd be lore for the actual party that defeats the dragon to learn about. Like, oh, it was a party before you that died. And the lore was like the party before you we sit died. Those were that party that died.
Yep.
So you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. I feel like, for me at least, and as a player, I really enjoy leveled areas because it makes the world feel real. Not everything is level 1 wherever you go. It doesn't make any sense. Not everything is level 20 wherever you go. 2 as well. When people are high level, they should feel high level, good and bad. So example, when this is my order of 2, the campaign before we had like a year, the players were like level 10ish, and basic stuff really couldn't challenge them in any way, shape, or form. It really wasn't a real challenge, and that was on purpose. In Orders of Rift, these were super powered, almost like bionically enhanced demigod beings fighting 4 fucking gods that are trying to take over a planet. So they had to be powerful enough to defeat the avatars of beings. Why the fuck is a goblin going to pose any serious threat to a demigod that lives in the realm? It doesn't make any sense. Like what is like? Why am I? Yo, it was so cool to see as well too. Because Bjorn used to play Hagen, and he would launch fucking Buddha fucking enlightened fists from fucking like 120 feet away. AoE command,
flaming whiskey balls, man.
Yeah, dude, whiskey fists, just fucking whiskey blasting stuff, flying around, walk on stuff.
Just so everyone here listen and knows, I was a drunken master monk.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the whiskey fist, my drink of choice was whiskey. So,
and dude, it was so, and this is why you guys see it when they hit level 4. I do custom feats and custom things as well, because not only was it like a drunken fist, but it was like a sub layer of that whiskey fist, which is like your school. And man, dude, I used to watch this shit like, bro. It was so real for me to just see this guy just walk around, just fucking bam, just launch a fucking cone of basically ice cold beverages at people and just kill people, bro. It was crazy, dude.
Well, that brings up a topic I'd like to really quickly talk about is,
okay,
how do you feel? So when you're talking about this cooperative storytelling piece of this, right?
Correct.
So there's a lot of people I feel that just sort of go in to D&D, they get into combat, they get into encounters, social encounters, whatever, and they
Okay.
just kind of do the, hey, I want to insight check them, or hey, I want to use my persuasion on them, but they don't really explain what they're doing. They're using the mechanics of the game to play the game versus getting into the character's head, right? Which way do well, I know which way you want to do it, but for everyone listening, what do you like to see as a from your PCs, from the people that are playing with you? What do you like to see them do when it comes to that? Do you like them fully playing everything out, or do you want them to just do a part of the play out and then say, "Hey, this is what I'm trying to do"?
For me, long as you try to come to the water, I'm gonna lead you half the way. You got to be able to articulate what you're trying to do in a meaningful manner. If you're playing an intelligent character, like 20 intelligent, and you're not a super genius, just have like I'm not expecting you to try to solve everything in a super complex like fucking Sheldon from the Big Bang Theory. I'm not trying to. That's not what I'm asking you to do. But I'm asking you if you're playing a character to role play, like you know, Meldor scratches his beard as he ponders this wall here. He sees some, and then what is it? Cracks in the wall. Some cracks. He's looking through these cracks. He's checking the wall for anything, any kind of indentation or soft spots or the history of these stones. That doesn't require intense brain like what the fuck is it intelligence. You're just role playing how you're trying to investigate this object, right? Sometimes, well, if you just want to say investigate, sometimes it's like whatever, it's fine because if it's just a simple thing, but it shouldn't be the de facto. I just investigate, and it's just or I persuade or I percept or whatever. It should be you're trying to do this. Then would be okay if you're trying to be perceptive. And you have your bow drawn, you're a ranger, you're looking out and trying to see for any hostile threats that might be trying to come to your line of view. DM, do I see any hostile threats? Well, you're trying to be perceptive. That sounds cool. Roll a perception. That's different than being, can I percept things? It's just lazy. And what it does is that it gets you deeper into the moment. And if you try to paint a picture, most DMs are going to help you paint that picture with you to collaborative storytelling, to fully immersate the world. Because without the storytelling, these are just pieces on a board. But with the storytelling, it makes the piece on the board into a fully thematic scene of this ranger is getting stalked by goblins. They're trying to find him out. Two other party members are down. They're trying to make sure they can get out of this alive. Then just piece A is trying to attack random pieces F9 and Z from trying to kill other pieces C and D.
F13 moves to G13 and takes
yeah,
and the reason I asked that question was one of the biggest things from our previous campaign, the Order of Rift campaign we were in, that stands out to me was honestly right before we TPK'd, and we went from like level 7 to level 10 with the way that you were doing everything.
Yeah.
And so I had like, as a monk, you get the ability to walk up walls and some of those, feather fall and different things like that. And I had gotten a fear effect or something like that. Right. And the way that you had did thing, and he had, you mentioned that, you do some of these custom feats and some of these homebrew pieces to your game. I think at that point I had on a single turn, like 120 feet of movement or something crazy like that. Right. And I got this fear effect and ran straight up a wall, got to the top of it and went, what was it? Stillness of mind. It was like, okay, can I use stillness of mind in this case? Because now I'm away from my target, like 200 feet up this cliff.
Yeah.
Did the stillness of mind. And then the next turn looked back over because I no longer feared, looked over and went, all right, all my party's getting beat up. I'm going to nosedive off this cliff, pull this ball of whiskey out of my flask on my hip and shoot this ball of whiskey at these two guys as I'm falling to the ground. And just as I land at the bottom of the ground, I'm going to run down the wall, and it cost me like 1 damage.
it was crazy because it was so cool to see, like, in Hagen is bald, kind of like Jason Statham looking dude, and he was it was so cool because it's so thematic of him, like, okay, calm my mind, I'm ready, and he just runs off, leaps, fucking jumper style, and just fucking Avatar the Airbender shit, launches a fucking whiskey fist, falls down, and basically fucking slides down the mountain like an avalanche. Like that, lands down. It was nothing. I'm like, that was fucking badass, and I want you to know it's badass. It was, and that's the thing, right? Me as a DM, I want players to feel badass. I try like low level fantasy, not my cup of tea. I want people to feel really, really strong and powerful. So I can throw really complex things like you guys try to kill you. But I really want the feeling of like power. This thing called power cliffing, where after a certain point, very like mundane things don't really challenge you anymore. And it goes to show you where if Hagen, the Flagon, went to a village, he could fucking like destroy the village. Like no, like not kind of sorta destroy the village. Like no, level 10 Hagen could destroy a fucking village, no diff. Not even a little diff. Not kind of he would go off, fucking Liu Kang kick somebody's grandma's head off and just fucking go hurricane kick through everybody and they would die. No kind of sorta, no maybe. He would go down like fucking blood sport and fucking just kill everybody, fucking elbows and shit. It'd be done. Yeah. And I wanted that because that was the feeling that I was trying to have with the game. Because like I said, you guys were basically demigods. He was basically he was an ascended human, which is like the Avatar state pretty much. At this point he was basically beyond human, like a tier 2 human, whatever you want to call it. And so is his party. We're also basically tier 2. Everybody was like the next level of levels.
We had a rogue that I think at one point with his sneak damage could do like 160 damage around around on his first attack. I mean, that campaign, I will admit, was absolutely fun. Yeah. There was no doubt about it. That was an amazing campaign, but just the way that it was played out was just everybody was thematic about it. The descriptions, how they did things, the role play, and that brings me, in my opinion, to another point, because when you were talking about some of the role play stuff, it's way different doing role play out loud, right? Like having those, spending the time to do the conversation in person, having that actual physical conversation, like you need to do when we're doing what we're doing now with the stream. We did a lot of RP as a group, text-based RP in the chat of Roll20. So there would be times we could be 2 days beyond. We'd be doing something in game 2 days beyond, but we're still role playing as if it's 2 days ago through the chat.
Right.
How do you feel the role play goes with some of these games, and do you like that role play, especially when you start talking about bringing a new character? Because we've been talking about the whole name of the show with the death piece. When you start talking about that role play of bringing a new character in and how that all works, how does that work for you? How do you bring a new character in, and how does that role play fit in with for you?
I think every situation is different. So I'm going to talk about the most common ones that I've seen that I've used myself. So when a player dies, the classic one is they're almost to a new town anyway, and as they head to a new town, they discover a new person. That's the classic, like, easy peasy way. One of them is if they're in a tower and they're fighting through and one of their players died. As they investigate the other room, they discover that somebody had been captured. That's the other one. They free him. They say, "Oh, I'll help you guys out." He joins the party till he dies, and we go from there. But I've seen, I've also seen as well to where as and this one's rarer, but I have seen it where the BBEG was possessing somebody, like, and that'd be the PC. And then so they kill the BBEG, and they find out that he was using the body of the PC to, usually spellcasters, to kind of funnel the magic to make this body. I've seen that before. I've seen that actually more times than what I care to admit. Actually, it's not that rare, but not that common either. I've seen that. But for me personally, how I introduce new characters is always try to be as thematic as possible. With Horn's death, it was several ways it could have happened. Because for me, I know people try to do like rules is written. Um, I am rules is written when it comes to interactions with between things. Most of the cases, right? But I am not rules is written when it comes to new stuff being introduced into the world. So by that means, like, okay, if somebody attacks you, the function of the attack action does apply fully. Like that happens. Like running these things are normal. But if somebody gets eaten and turned into a vampire or they're cool, that can happen. Somebody get reincarnated because of something else, that can happen. I don't try to say like, well, whatever with that. If it makes sense or if it's cool, because I like rule of cool. To an extent, to an extent, to where it's not bullshit. The
I
bullshit of
want
cool.
55 actions, one turn. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's like, dude, I've seen people try to argue stunning fist to be counterspell for 10 minutes. It's like, okay, if I hold my action to stunning strike this guy here, can I counterspell his throat and I aim for his larynx? I'm like, bro, stop, man.
Yeah.
Like that's invalid. Okay, because if that's the case, then the wizard could. Okay, I'm gonna catapult this sword, and because I'm catapulting it, can I grab it and use it as a weapon too to add damage to it as I use my strength? Like I've seen some crazy arguments. And that goes to my next point I want to talk about too as well is DMs being able to understand when and where to say no. That's huge. You got to be able to say no for stuff, or else players just start taking inches, and then feet, then yards, and then miles of
Yep.
bullshit from you, and
Yep.
it starts to lose the grasp of what is real and what is possible. To example, the whole stunning, the counterspell, the DM allowed that. I left the game shortly after that, but the DM allowed that. Is in other examples where if you keep allowing people to start manipulating the rules to suit them, then you're basically electing a co-DM, a co-table of DMs at your table, and it's always good for people to be able to check you about stuff because like, okay, if you're wrong, you're wrong. But this is one of my biggest things is players manipulating rules in their favor, and then when the DM is using the same rule, it's again is rule is written super hard. That's the biggest pet peeve for me. I do not like that at all.
Yeah.
I hate it. I hate it. If you're one of those players, you go ahead, dude.
No, I was gonna say it. I think everybody just has a natural mentality of I want things to go my way, right?
Right.
So I think everybody, I mean, I even catch myself and I feel, and you can correct me if I'm wrong because you've been my DM now for almost a year. I feel like I try to play things as straight as possible. And there's times I've questioned you. There's times I'm like, hey, can I do this? I want to do this. This is, and there's times that you just got to look at somebody and go, you know what, that's cool. Yeah, let's do that. And then when you do it as a DM, it's like, I can't question you because you let me do it. Right.
Right.
But I think that there is times that everybody just has sort of this self-serving, like, I want to do this because it's cool. But wait, I don't want it used against me. Like, it's just sort of a self-serving piece, right?
Right. And it goes to show, like, because we're all humans, and I think it's tough. I think we've all been there. Especially early in my career as a player, as a DM, I definitely seen it, and that's definitely bent the need to. I think I should have bent the need to. But as I get more mature and better at DMing, because like I said, I'm not the best. I'm still learning. I'm still a work in progress, but I'm still trying to be the best I can be. That you got to be able to play things as fairly as possible. And my players that I have at my table feel this way. Like I don't feel from my players that they're trying to manipulate rules only for them. Is usually very fair on both sides. And I don't try to manipulate rules to only serve me because I also DM do this shit too. DMs manipulate rules to suit them, and then when players try to use the same thing, oh well, you can't really do it like that because this guy had forearms and you can't. I'm sorry, it works like that. Like, don't be that guy either, okay? Like, I give DMs a lot of credence because it's a hard job, but it goes both ways with that shit. So if players are trying to use things that you are doing that in action, then you can't get mad when they try to do things that you are manipulating to do in your favor. Example, DMs that rule you can grapple as a opportunity attack. I've seen DMs use the fuck out of that shit a lot. And then when their big bad guy is getting auto grappled by the fucking barbarian, it's like, hold on, wait, how can you really do that again?
Isn't that Sentinel? I mean, if you don't have the Sentinel feat, how do you do that, right?
yeah, but the thing is too is well, like, you can attack, but it's basically grapple. Sentinel's basically grapple, but it's basically grapple bullshit. But like, I've seen DMs argue to where like, because grapple is an attack, that you could basically do it as an opportunity attack, which is bullshit. Because case in point, people just start fucking grappling, auto grappling people off cooldown. But that's just a point of DMs. If you start manipulating rules to suit you, those players should be able to use those rules as well to suit them.
Players, and vice versa.
Players, 100%. And I just want to say too as well. Okay, so next question. I think that I had a couple other questions, but I think Assassination wants to talk about critical hit tables. Me personally, not a fan. Not a fan. I don't mind them so much, but I think for me, as a DM and as a player, sometimes they can really, really be bullshit as a player and as a DM. Example being, you're a high level fighter and you roll more attacks than anybody, right? So what that does is it punishes you for rolling more dice than everybody, because by that logic, you will roll more ones than anybody else. You roll more crits too. What happens is that what I've noticed is that it's like the highs are like high, but the lows are so low. So where if you're rolling, a crit and encounter or a critical failure and encounter, it can just take you out of the game. Like you're stunned or you're whatever, and it can really fuck with you a little bit. So now I don't mind it if it's really minor things like, your weapon drops, you got to pick it up. Okay, whatever. But I've seen people get knocked prone, get incapacitated, auto stone, lose arms, limbs, get knocked unconscious for an hour. I've seen some pretty, and also to enemies too. I'm like, this high level dragon falls on his head and gets unconscious for an hour. The fuck does that work?
I've seen it. I mean, we play in a game on Thursdays. The crit cards that our DM uses. That something like that makes a lot of sense. Like a D4 a bleed around for a critical hit, or like you're saying a crit fail. So I'm in our Thursday game, I'm a dual wielding Eldritch Knight fighter. My axe gets stuck in the wall and I have to retrieve it to be able to use it. Like that, like just like you're saying, that makes a whole lot of sense to me. I can understand that. You're swinging, in that situation, I'm standing next to a wall, I'm swinging at this thing and it ducks and it slams into the wall, the blade gets stuck. Okay, that makes sense. Like that would be a crit fail. Totally understood. But I can totally see where, you fall asleep and you won't wake up for 24 hours. Okay, well, now this is no longer an encounter because they can just wail on you because you ain't waking up. Like,
and the reason why I say that's not the reason why I dislike critical hit tables is because the biggest thing is I play a wizard, and I can't remember the last time I've actually rolled a critical failure. It's been like some sessions.
Well, you don't go. It's all saving throws. I mean, as a wizard,
so
90%
that's what
of
I'm
your
saying,
spells are
my
saving
guys.
throws.
So I say that to say, like, it can punish people that roll a lot of attacks, fighters, paladins, whatever. As a wizard, I'm straight, dude. I'm not rolling any failures. I'm good. So I'm like enjoying, for me to enjoy that,
Go
but I'm
at
not
it.
doing anything. Go at it. So yeah. So for me at you I just and he said it's some critical spell tables. Yeah, and those are the bullshit ones. And those are the bullshit because it's not wild magic, right? I fucking hate if I've seen critical failure tables, and this is the truth. Where I rolled a nat one on a save on a save throw against a spell, and no bullshit, I got turned into a rabbit and got insta killed. Um, I am not bullshitting.
What is
I
this,
was
Monty
not one.
Python?
I was literally a level 12 wizard, and it was like, you know what? Nah, dude. Oh, what was like a shatter? Oh yeah,
Oh
shatter.
God.
Polymorph insta kill. Get fucked, kid. Roll up a new character. It's to where it is bullshit. Not all critical tables are bad. And to be honest, if they were just for critical successes or I just buff crits in my game. So for me personally, because crits are usually terrible, I just buff crits where the first crit roll you roll is maxed. So crits will always do the more damage than normal hits because I mean, Devin will tell you on Thursday. I've seen crits do less damage than what a
Yeah.
normal hits do,
Well,
which doesn't make any
okay,
sense.
you double the dice and you roll all ones. Like,
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense. Just either for me, because maxing out that die, it just means that like that's why honestly like subclass like champion don't feel very good because crits are terrible. Like that. Okay, fuck, they're terrible. Crits are terrible in 5e. I'm just gonna say what it is. It is what it is. If you're telling me that
without homebrew rules, crits can be
yeah,
really bad. Yeah.
yes, it's like wow, I do an extra 3 damage. Hell yeah, like wow, this is just what I wanted. 3 more
Yep.
damage. Oh, great. 10% chance of this happening with my whole subclass and yeah, 5e. Um, you know, and I just want to say too, just to kind of wrap it up a little bit as well too. You mentioned as well with Torn Down as well too that you were kind of like almost at peace with it, because it was kind of thematic and it made sense. Do you think, this is the last question here, do you think that anybody else would have been at peace with that situation, or most players would be at peace with that situation? Because I got my own answer, but I'll let you answer first.
I'm gonna say no. I mean, I think that most people that put so much time into a character, into a backstory, into their personality, into all of these pieces that you do to make up a character, to go 5 sessions, and I'm gonna rephrase this because I want to say we had about 9 sessions with that character, but 5 sessions or 6 sessions streamed. There, I mean, anybody that only has 9-10 sessions with a character typically, I feel, are going to go, okay, this sucks. I just put all this time into a character and now I have to do it all over again. But I think a very good player that understands the thematics that goes into that piece are going to be fine with it. I also think that there's a story element to it. If it makes sense within the story, how can you get mad if that character dies? So I there's a lot of pieces that come into play to decide whether a PC is going to be happy. I mean, don't get me wrong. I was sad that Warren died. I mean, I've wanted to play a barbarian for a long time, and I was like, sweet, I get to play a barbarian, and I got very few sessions with him. But the thematics of it, the storytelling piece of it, and on top of that, how you handled the new character piece of it, given the primal path of the ancestors path that he had, and the spirit that he had, and all these other, there's a lot of pieces that come into it. But the short answer is no. I don't think there's a lot of players out there that are going to be happy when their character dies in that kind of fashion. I think they're going to think that, and this is my opinion, I think a lot of people will think that the DM is picking on them in that situation.
Right. And to address that too as well, I agree. I think that a lot of players as well too will take it as almost an attack or as an affront to like we can actually die early game kind of thing or something like that where people don't think it's real or like it's kind of unwritten rule. And I think that's kind of where the whole lack of consequences players kind of come into play. And it goes to show as well too. For me as a DM as well, to any DM that kill your player, you have to put the same amount of time, energy into killing that player as you would making them a new character, having them be a new character. Because even though Horn did die, his death was an interesting set piece to Bjorn. And Bjorn is not just like I just roll of a new character. Behind the scenes, it was way more stuff to where the player was even more excited, or you have to be able to get them as invested or as close to it as invested in their next character. If you just say, "Well, you died roll up a new character," then that feels frustrating for a player that spent a lot of time and energy into that character. But as a DM, if you do kill a player's character and you work with them to try to make that character fit the world, fit the session, make something kind of unique for that character in that moment, that makes sense. Then what it does is it feels like, I had a loss, now I have a gain too. This isn't just a normal character. This is like a super cool kind of thing that I normally wouldn't even have access to without my character dying. And no one else had access to this without, dying. So that was
I guess that's I guess that does lead me, just because I've been curious, how did you come up with the idea in the moment? I mean, this you didn't know that Horn was going to walk into that situation,
correct,
and then die. I mean, once he got into that situation, it was like more than likely he's dead. But how did you come up with the idea to then use all of the pieces of Horn in that 2-minute moment to create this new character?
I looked at the pieces on the board. So like I play a lot of tactical games and a lot of strategy games. So that's kind of where my background comes into play. So you can kind of get almost kind of this foresight into kind of seeing like, okay, what are the options that kind of happen after this death? And like I'm a big on options, and this is kind of what I am. So Horn dying led to several options. One, he's dead. A new character needs to be input. Like I said, they're going to a new city, new character. That fucking sucks. It's boring. Two, they could try to save him possibly and try to get him resurrected in the city. That's cool too, but for the story, I didn't feel that it fit thematically, even though you guys had the option. I was like, the amount of gold it would take for that to happen and for the amount of energy to take for that to happen, you'd have to have a significant time with another character to where you just want to play the other character now after having to fucking amass thousands of gold pieces to get Horn resurrected. So you're just like, I like Horn, but now I'm playing Corn, and Corn is really cool. I just want to play Corn now, so I can just play Corn. So it would have been. I've seen it happen too. 3, he could have been re-risen as a Daracool, and because that had happened in a previous campaign, and somebody coming back to life, I was like, no. I was like, no, I don't always just do that. So I was like, reincarnate. That's the option that felt natural, believable. Worked with, basically I gave it at like a success rate. I'm like, Horn being reincarnated into Bjorn, and that's not a spoiler because I discussed that all on stream.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. Yes, it's not a spoiler. All right.
Yeah, you said you said he was reincarnated. You said that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I did. I was making sure I didn't fuck that up somehow.
No, you're good.
Okay, so I thought the success rate of you being reincarnated and you be able to still play for the session was about 85%. So I was like, a calculated risk isn't a really risk at all. So I'm like, that's calculated, makes sense. Bam, that's what happens. And I rolled the dice. I don't know for sure. Believe me, no one knows for sure. All I can know is that it's from experience, right? You know that doing anything, and this is where experience comes into play. The more experience you have, the more better you're able to gauge what things will work more often than not with
Yep.
anything. So when you have that experience, you're like, this should work. I feel like there's a chance it might not work, but most likely it'll work. So
Well,
that's kind of where I was at with it.
it's interesting too, because looking at his the primal path of the ancients that he just got, and having this spirit that had been with him from his background and from the backstory and everything, like the fact that you came to that conclusion that quickly. Now, granted, yes, we went to break right after that because there was some things that had to get done to make it make sense, right?
Right.
But the fact that you came to that conclusion that quickly for me as a player was, dude, I was looking at it going, holy shit, that's fucking amazing. I have no idea where you pulled that from to pull it that fast in that moment in an intense situation.
Hey man, and I think for me at least, you see me play as Zetrix on Thursdays, and I've always been kind of cool and kind of under pressure kind of thing.
Yep.
We've been in some crazy shit on Thursdays too. And I've died in Thursdays too. I got and it came back to life, but I did die. But I always try to, getting angry, upset just doesn't make the situation better. It just makes it worse. And as a player, especially as a DM, if players getting angry and frustrated because they're losing, it just feels bad. I mean, and I try not to be that player ever. Like when we were fighting some Illithids Thursday night game campaign, we're getting fucked. I was never like, oh my god, we're gonna die. It's like, dude, fuck it, we're dying, dude.
Let's go.
Just let's go. Oh, let's do it, man. Because what it does is it makes the D, because like I said, we're all people, and it does suck when your players are bitching and complaining and fucking crying about something that you're kind of gauging. I hope this works out. It's challenging to the best of your ability. It does suck when players are like moaning and complaining about like. Listen, I've been there as a DM, and as a player, I'd hate to be that person. So, if you're a player and your DM you're dying, something like that, don't be the player that is bitching and complaining, moaning. Oh my god, I've had this character for 16 years. I wrote a backstory for him as well, and he killed my character. I can't believe it. Like, he shouldn't have died. He doesn't die to Act 4. This is the first act. What am I doing? Like,
yeah,
bro, take some deep breaths. End of the day, it's just still a game, bro. It is a game, and it's a really good game. But you got to be able to understand that. Listen, we're human. We make mistakes. Things could be better, could be worse. It just happens. It's life. If you act that way, it goes to show for people acting like that you've never really been through traumatic or things that tested your moral fiber or character. And it goes to show that if you fall easily under pressure, you got to go through some more life experience, man. Because life, if you were trying over a game, oh my god, dude, it's real life. It's fucking through a blender, man. Go ahead,
like talking about Thursday. So we said it earlier. Like, our group essentially had a TPK, and we had an NPC come in and basically save us. And there was a whole lot of extenuating circumstances with that. Even the DM had said, I feel like I made this too tough given the level you were, and there was a whole lot of other stuff, right?
Right.
And there's the two of the players on that Thursday game decided to keep their characters. It could have only been one, because as a player, I looked at it like, given the situation that we were in, essentially my character had just met his mother for the first time in 76 years as a dwarf. And everything else that had gone on, the player that decided to keep his character, I was like, you got to make a really compelling argument to my character for him to stay.
Right.
And I left it up to the role play. It was the role play has to dictate what is going on in this situation. And in my head, before I even said that, I said, there's only basically one thing that this character can say to him that would make him go, okay, I'm going to keep going instead of going and spending time with the mom that I just finally met for the first time.
Right.
And that's the way he went. And that's the only reason that my character is the same character on our Thursday game. Looking back at it now, I'm happy because he's developed into this amazing character.
Right.
But it could have been way different.
way different. And it goes to show you that consequences and stuff as well. Those things endanger makes a game a game. If you felt like you couldn't lose at Monopoly or any games, then why would you play them? It's not a game. It's just an action. Like I'm going to do the action to get the result. But with the game, there's a chance of losing. It's not a game if you can't lose. So think about that, DMs and players. And next week we will be on like Track of Dawn. I think everybody should be here. So we will see Assassination Office Lori with Betsy worked on. And we'll have the next week podcast as well. We'll see anything about that. But it's been a pleasure with that being said, with Bjorn being here. Do you want to have any final thoughts? Did you enjoy the podcast? Like, not? How do you feel about it?
Dude, I always love getting on and just having conversations about D&D. It's D&D as a game in general is absolutely fun, and the group of people that I get to play with both on Thursdays and especially on Fridays I couldn't ask for anything better. So
love it. And let me give some claps to Assassination in the back, Tech Guy 101. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Thank you. He'll be here next week, guys. He had to do a couple secret missions, save a couple countries. He's back. And we will see you in the next one. Enjoy yourself. God will and Godspeed. One love.
Friday, 7:00. Come watch the Merchant Quarter. Let's go.
Let's do it. We have a dance off. We have a dance off to get to. Oh my goodness. Bam.